The greatest fight in One Piece is not Luffy versus Rob Lucci, or Luffy versus Kaido, or even Luffy versus Doflamingo, but it is in fact Luffy versus Sanji. Now I know this is an extreme hot take and pretty much everybody watching this video does not agree with that, but to me it's more than just throwing hands. I could genuinely say this fight impacted me emotionally more than any fight ever did in One Piece. I could genuinely say that I actually cried watching this fight, especially with one of the most iconic scenes and most tear-jerking scenes in that arc. My ass was looking like Sanji when I heard Luffy say those exact lines. That voice actor needed a payday. Many people do have some misconceptions in this battle and think Sanji's just a piece of shit for betraying his captain, but they really don't understand Sanji's reasoning and the whole aspect of this battle. This all started back in Zou, where Sanji took half of these straw hats to go wait for Luffy on that big ass elephant.
Big Momの船に反撃する許可を.
At the time, he had Brook, Chopper, and Nami with him. They got attacked by Capone Beige, and at this moment they were completely outnumbered, and he even had some of the crew as hostages. Sanji receives an invitation, and at that moment, given the circumstances, he had no other choice but to save his crew while sacrificing himself to the Big Mom pirates. He later ends up going to Whole Cake Island, where he sees his siblings once again. And we get to see that he is going to be marrying Pudding in order to merge Germa 66 with the Big Mom pirates. Later on, Sanji gets handcuffed, and supposedly these handcuffs were supposed to blow up Sanji's hands if he tried to do anything. And we later find out that Big Mom is also supposedly holding Zeph and all the other crew members at Baratier hostage. So if anything were to happen, Sanji's beloved family, his beloved chef Zeph, that he owes his life to, that he would do anything for, and he's deeply indebted to. Anything were to happen at this wedding, Big Mom will kill essentially everyone Sanji ever loved. Luffy ends up showing up to Whole Cake Island, obviously to save his beloved chef and his crewmate Sanji. And as soon as Luffy met Sanji, well, this happened. Completely unpredictable, and we didn't think this was gonna happen. And Sanji ended up proceeding to kick Luffy and to beat the shit out of him, and that's where the biggest problem stems. That Sanji was even able to lay a finger, or should I say a leg, on his captain. Some people are saying that Sanji went too far with beating Luffy during that fight. And I just want to say to you guys, you're not necessarily wrong. I would actually say you're right. It's because Sanji essentially knows the character that Luffy is. He decided that it was the best course of action to beat up Luffy the way he did. Sanji was in a desperate situation with Zeph hanging on the line. Sanji as a character in this manga doesn't believe in plot magic. He believes that Big Mom is stronger than Luffy because of who she is and her stature in the show. You guys have to remember, he's not like the readers. He's not like us thinking Luffy can't possibly die. We know that for a fact. So when we see Luffy get into these tough situations and fight these tough opponents, we think nothing terrible can actually happen to Luffy because he has plot armor. While Sanji being in a desperate situation, we all know how persistent Luffy can be. If he sets his mind to something, he's trying to help someone. If he wants to obtain something, there's nothing that can virtually stop him. And Sanji knows that all too well. Sanji, knowing all that, not only did he decide to beat Luffy, he also took it a step further to insult Luffy and his dream as well, so that he can really convey the message to Luffy that leave me the fuck alone. He wanted to be hated by Luffy and the rest of the crew. He He wanted them to be angry at him. He did the best to get to a point of no return where he could never go back to his crew again, because he wanted to protect them. That's the key thing here. Everything that he just did, in his mind, is protecting Luffy and the rest of the crew. This is why he lists beating up Luffy as one of the reasons he can't return to the crew. He believed what he did was the worst, and that's exactly why he did it at the time. Even though it's one of the worst things, at that time, he had to go extreme. He had to do the worst of the worst to Luffy, because if you don't, or if you don't try, Luffy's just gonna keep coming. Pause. But to Sanji, he didn't have any choice. He was left with two options. One, follow the Vinsmoke's orders to ensure his safety and beg Big Mom Pirate to spare his crew, which is the option he chose, which resulted in him having to try to drive Luffy away because simply talking to Luffy isn't gonna work. Or the second option, escape with Luffy and the crew and end up getting Zeff killed, and also resulted in making the Vinsmokes and the Big Mom Pirates go after Sanji and his crew non-stop. So Sanji essentially tried to kill two birds with one stone. He tried to save Zeff and protect his crew at the same time. He stayed with the Big Mom Pirates and agreed to marry Pudding in order to save Zeff. While doing so, he decided to isolate himself from the crew and push Luffy away, which he tried to do so that he can also protect them. Since Sanji couldn't choose between protecting his crew and fighting with them or protecting Zeff, he found a middle ground. He protected Zeff, and by pushing out Luffy, he was trying to protect Luffy and his crew. He was so desperate, all he could do was helplessly believe that following Big Mom and Judge's wishes by marrying Pudding was the only choice to protect everyone. That's why the brother was crying when he found out that Pudding was a snake and that everything was a lie, because he placed all his hopes in them after everything that just happened. So essentially, to me, that is why this fight is one of the most emotional and most impactful fights I've ever read in anime. The moment where Luffy is giving the speech to Sanji, as I'm even recording this right now, is literally giving me chills. The speech he says, and as we pan back to Sanji Baratie and Luffy being the one to acknowledge Sanji's dream. Luffy saying, "If it rains spears down on me, I will not leave this place until you come back, Sanji." This is why Luffy is one of the goated MCs of all time. And this is why Sanji is such an important character to Luffy, because the brother says it himself. Without you, Sanji, I cannot become the Pirate King. He was willing to kill himself. He was ready to put it all on the line for Sanji. Sanji is that important to Luffy, and essentially that's why he's one of the wings of the Pirate King. And I don't know if the situation is necessarily tied, but going to Wano, when Black Mirror captures Sanji, Sanji actually asks for help from Robin in order to save him. And obviously, why would Sanji put a woman, especially Robin, who he loves so much, in danger, and he wouldn't be able to protect her? It's kind of the same thing when it comes to Luffy and the Big Mom situation. Sanji didn't ask for help because he was afraid Big Mom would essentially wipe out Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirates, and he couldn't protect them, so he didn't ask for help. But now fast forward to Wano, even though he couldn't protect Robin from Black Maria, he still believed in her and he asked for her help. In some ways, Sanji did get character development in a sense where he's not afraid of asking for help. It may came off as me saying Sanji beating the hell out of Luffy is justifiable. That's not exactly what I'm trying to say, but I'm trying to show you guys the mind of Sanji and what he was thinking in that moment. Because you guys gotta remember, this was a surprise thing. At that given moment where Luffy found Sanji in Whole Cake Island, he was extremely surprised and it caught him off guard. He had to go make a quick decision, especially at that given moment. Since he was with the rest of his Germa family, he didn't have much choices. And that's what he decided to do. Obviously, him and Luffy came to a better conclusion later on, but at that moment, he had to think fast and he wasn't left with a lot of options. And some people really don't tend to understand that. But yeah guys, this is seemingly my favorite fight in One Piece. No fight in One Piece have emotionally hit me this hard. I don't know if it's because Sanji is my favorite character, but I doubt a lot of you guys see eye to eye, especially the Zoro fans. I never really seen a Zoro fan that really appreciated this moment. They probably either say Sanji's a piece of shit who betrayed his captain, who hurt his captain, or they either don't feel anything and they just say, oh, it was cool, where's Zoro at? You know what I mean? Especially when they had the opening Hope playing at that time too with the episode. It was just amazing. They just made that whole episode, that whole little segment of Sanji versus Luffy, amazing and fantastic. So yeah guys, that's pretty much it. Make sure you guys take the time to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. This is definitely my favorite video to make, so I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.